We're here tonight to honor three of the original board members of Sinai Hospital, Lou Berry, Max Fisher, and Leonard Simon. Because of their vision and the vision of their colleagues, Sinai Hospital today exists as one of Detroit's outstanding medical institutions. These three men and their colleagues created an institution which is an example of the Jewish community's dedication and devotion to superior health care in the city of Detroit. The principles that they established so many years ago that guided the hospital in its early days, the principles of excellence still exist today and guide us today as they did 41 years ago.
The Sinai idea, Jewish hospital idea, goes back many years before the hospital was built. My recollection is that back in the 20s, they tried to build a hospital, but the leaders at that time were not very good at fundraising. I was called by Nate Shapiro, who was a friend of mine, and I recall sitting in his office negotiating with the people that owned the land. We eventually were able to make a deal. Having the reputation of a fundraiser, I was enticed into this thing, and I saw no reason why I shouldn't go along, and some of my very good friends were involved, and I wanted to go along with them, and I personally raised considerable money. I went out and solicited people face to face. Before we knew it, we already had our $2 million, and that time we started to build.
And I remember laying the first brick of the north building of the hospital. It was a very exciting experience to lay that first brick, see it go up. And of course, they appointed me the first finance chairman. I was in charge of finance for the hospital. It was quite something. And I think one of the things we established at that time is a sound financial base for the hospital.
How did I happen to get involved with Sinai Hospital? It's simple. I was always fascinated with medicine. I always dreamed that someday I would be a doctor. In fact, I asked the high school senior class counselor what he thought my chances were of getting into a medical school. And he said to me, "Leonard, with your grades, the only way you'd ever get into a medical school is if you were a cadaver." When I was first married, I had some health problems. So I subscribed to the AMA Journal. I read it every week, even though I didn't understand most of it. My dear wife, Harriet, was concerned. She used to say she worried that someday I would die of a misprint. Anyhow, early in 1941, Dr. Harry Saltstein convinced me that we needed a Jewish-sponsored hospital in town. Conditions were now favorable. We should get started. We had Federation approval. We had a $100,000 gift if we built a hospital. Our wealthy Jews were very interested in the idea. Detroit had 350 Jewish doctors, but 70% of them could not get staff appointments to practice at any large hospital because of religious discrimination. This was our prime and most important problem and was vital to fulfilling the maximum medical and educational development of our young doctors, the special people whom our biblical prophets called messengers of God.
They were the leadership of a group of visionaries who envisioned a Jewish hospital in the city of Detroit that would not only service the sick, but would serve as a model of education and research in the community.
I think that these visionaries built a hospital that was more than just a hospital. I mean, I think they wanted a hospital that would be a center that would always be at the very cutting edge of medicine, you might say. In order to do that, they needed to establish more than just facilities of the best technology, the best doctors, and who give the best care. They needed more than that. They needed to have an educational program.
Sinai became a teaching hospital. It was one of the first teaching hospitals in Detroit. And I remember some of our philosophy at that time is to make this a great hospital, great service to patients, teaching hospital, do something better. Julian Perver had a tremendous influence. At the beginning, he came from Mount Sinai Hospital, and he worked night and day.
I received a bid to come here. The challenge was too much for me to resist. And so when we got here, my wife said, "Well, what do you do now?" I have to admit that I said, "I really don't know." but we began to put our heads together, and one thing after another began to fit. Medical staff was non-existent. There were hundreds of physicians who had hopes of being put on the staff. We were planning 200 beds, and there would have been about 600 or more doctors, which would have meant 3 doctors per bed. We couldn't accommodate them all.
Sinai Hospital was founded on the premise that the Detroit community would be best served by a Jewish-sponsored institution to take care of not only the Jewish community, but the community at large. People like Lou Berry, Max Fisher, and Leonard Simons had a dream, and it's that dream that we are now fulfilling by having Sinai Hospital spread its wings from the city of Detroit to the northwest suburbs, providing quality health care and quality medical education to all that come through our doors.
Sinai's commitment to community is rooted in the Jewish values of men and women like Louis Berry, Max Fisher, and Leonard Simon, who have made community commitment a cornerstone of their lives. As visionary as they were, I doubt if they or their fellow founders could have known how appropriate a name Sinai Hospital would be for those who we have served in such large numbers in the past few years. You know, the first Sinai was a mountain and not a hospital, which Moses ascended to bring down the law to his people fleeing oppression. Their flight and their exodus would last 40 years. Today, Jews whose exodus has been somewhat shorter, but certainly no less difficult, have come to Detroit fleeing Russia and seeking freedom. And we at Sinai have opened our doors to them, providing treatment and counseling and, most important, training. We of the Guild are proud to be a part of that service to these new Americans. Proud that the commitment to community assured by Lou Berry, Max Fisher, and Leonard Simon has enabled us to continue Sinai service to those in need.
What these 3 men have provided through their dreams is a legacy that the entire Jewish community can look to. It's one that they can be very proud of, and it's one that they can look forward to being in the forefront of, both for the Jewish community and for the Detroit community.
The future is full of challenges and unknown obstacles, but we have embarked on a strategic plan that calls for Sinai to continue to expand and renovate our Outer Drive campus, as well as develop new ambulatory care services in the suburbs. We intend to fulfill our founder's dream by getting Sinai out into the community and provide the quality services that the community demands, regardless of the challenges that may be ahead.
When I think of the challenges that we on today's board face in providing effective governance for the hospital, I marvel at the effort, the energy, the intelligence, and the vision that these men and their colleagues must have had in order to found this institution and to set it on the path that led to the institution we have today.
These 3 men began a dream. We of the Jewish community and of the Detroit metropolitan community owe these men a great debt of gratitude for their foresight and for their perseverance to help make this institution what it is today.
These are great people, kind-hearted, generous, pleasant. I couldn't think of nicer words. I do think that these leaders had a vision, and they endowed this institution with the drive to maintain that quality. And I think that this spills over to everyone that works here.
What Sinai Hospital has accomplished is something of which I am very proud. It built an enviable reputation as one of the best general hospitals in America. It is famous not only for its healthcare services, but also for its teaching and research facilities. I'm proud that I was able to serve Sinai for about 50 of my 90 years of age, including 3 years as vice president. I serve primarily for fundraising, or development as it is now called. I could tell you much more, but time doesn't permit. So Simon says, I want you to know that I especially appreciate and I thank you for this great pre-posthumous honor.
Look, health is life. I just considered it another job that has to be done.
This hospital, as you see it today, is not bricks and mortar. It's composed of emotions and feelings of human beings that were involved. Detroit should be very proud of what it's accomplished.
Sinai Hospital is the Jewish community's largest and most visible contribution to the people of the Detroit metropolitan area. All of us owe a debt of gratitude to our founding board members for making this possible.
On behalf of the entire Sinai family, I want to extend my personal thanks and appreciation to Lou, to Max, and to Leonard for allowing us to share in their dream. And we pledge to you that we will continue the Sinai vision and dream, and we will ensure that it is forever part of this great community.